Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with BR154. Today we're on Live Oaks and we're following the lone survivor of the Oz clan in the Tier 9 German assault medium tank, the E50. He's platooned up with Flyby, also of the Oz clan. Now the E50 is quite a powerful vehicle. Despite its huge size, has excellent mobility characteristics. 60 kilometers per hour forward, 20 kilometers per hour reverse. It's reasonably well armoured, although its armour is a little bit on the German side. So you've got a 150mm thick upper frontal plate, 100mm thick lower plate, but that sort of plate is quite well angled. So when you're working a corner in a poking situation in an urban environment, that can work out quite well for the vehicle. It also has about 130mm of side armor, which makes it very durable, very bouncy. 80mm of side armor, which still makes it very durable and bouncy in a side scraping situation. Unfortunately, we've recognised fairly early in the match that there's been literally no contest of the city by LoneSurvivor's team. Pretty well all the eggs have gone in the proverbial basket of the 9-0 lines. At this point in time, it's probably not appropriate for the gaggle of tanks that have collected between lines 6 and 8 to push the city. It's not really role appropriate for them to do so. Maybe it is for LoneSurvivor, but one tank is not really going to do anything. Now there seems to be more than enough guns pointed south, but for now that's where the enemy is, so that's where LoneSurvivor is going to go. The pickings are a little bit slim, and quite frankly there are other vehicles with better hull down ability that are covering that corner quite nicely. We do know that there's been no contest to the city, so we can sense a bit of indecision with LoneSurvivor at this point in time. Do we line up on the targets that are there, or do we ready ourselves for the targets that are invariably going to be coming from the west side of the map? Might get an opportunity on the Centurion 5-1. No, not today. Another of the redeeming features of this vehicle is its gun. It's got a 105mm main armament. It hits for 390 hit points, so that's up there for a 105mm gun. It's also quite accurate. You've got base dispersion of 0.29 meters per 100 meters, and that's only going to get better with an improved crew and equipment. The dynamic dispersion characteristics aren't too bad either. So you've got a gun that's not only quite accurate, but doesn't flare out all that much if you move around. And the aim time is down to only 2 seconds, so even if you do move around, you do recover that accuracy, that precision of your shot relatively quickly for all the little that you actually end up dispersing. This is a fairly sensible position for LoneSurvivor to take. He's got when he's trying to defend against a push from the west, he's got the soft cover of the bush that's protecting the vehicle, as well as the hard cover that's protecting the relatively thinner lower frontal plate. Generally speaking, if you're moving the tank front on to your enemy, they're going to need about 250mm of penetration to go through the upper frontal plate. The lower frontal plate, well, that's weaker on most vehicles, so we don't really talk about that. The turret face is also a little bit German as well, in that it can be penetrated quite readily by a lot of vehicles at tier or below. Just because it's only got an effective armor value of 225mm, and there's plenty of vehicles at tier 9 and tier 8 for that matter that can punch through that sort of that armor without blinking. You can angle it a little bit, but not too much, because you've got 130mm of armor on the cheeks. They're quite well angled, but once you start to, if you were to turn the turret to block shots like you do in a Mauser or an E100, you start to normalize those plates, and that becomes a bit of a problem. But for now, he's got a nice position here. He's able to side scrape out, use that 80mm of side armor to bait shots from enemy vehicles. Now we know there's at least the Basante C45 and the Tiger II that have contested the city and are now pushing out. There's also a TNH 105-1000, that's a Tier 8 Czech heavy tank on the tech tree, and that's sort of playing the hull down off this ridge as well. So certainly a target-rich environment for them. They are 2 tanks down and probably carrying maybe 75% of the hit point pool of the enemy team as well. At least that's what we know about at this point in time. We can see the enemy. We can see that LoneSurvivor's team has been pushed back into this corner. They really have ceded all map control to the enemy team, and what that's enabled the enemy to do is to start enveloping them. They're able to control all the flanks. They're able to get all the flanking shots in. But fortunately, it looks like they've cleared everything out of the AB lines, so LoneSurvivor can start to control this. Now the Basante C45 has done a bit of a mag dump, so that will have affected its damage per minute, and with the back of its turret hanging out behind the building, that's given LoneSurvivor the opportunity to send it back to the garage. Now we notice we've had a couple of ticks appearing on the screen here, and that is indicative of a personal campaign mission completion. In particular, what he is working on is MT-9, a worthy opponent. So his primary conditions was to cause 1500 hit points of damage to enemy tanks, which he had done by engaging the Tiger II and the Basante C45. The other objective here being to destroy 2 enemy heavy tanks, which will take the evidence-based approach there. He's now left with the honours condition, where he needs to win this battle as well as survive. That's potentially going to be a little bit difficult here. They are at a hit point disadvantage and a numerical disadvantage. He's being lit up by the Kampfpanzer 7RH, just simply existing within 50 meters of LoneSurvivor has got them exposed. So potentially LoneSurvivor is quite exposed to any gunfire coming up the 9-0 line. Fortunately, there isn't any of that at the moment. There's the CS52 lease that the Skoda T56 has been engaging, but just as we were speaking, that Skoda T56 has been knocked out. The Kampfpanzer 7RH makes its move. It's trying to rely on its damage per minute to knock LoneSurvivor out of the fight. But LoneSurvivor is able to get there first. Now, the E50 doesn't have a bad damage per minute itself. It's got a base DPM of over 2500 hit points a minute, so it's certainly nothing to be scoffed at. You can see LoneSurvivor wasn't taking any prisoners either under the circumstances. He did have 10 premium shells when he started the battle, and now has expended all of them. Trying to pull off what's quite a desperate fight, but nonetheless, you do what you have to under these circumstances, and we're now at a point. Even though Flyby has most of their hit points intact, you're just down to the finest margins as to whether LoneSurvivor survives or wins this battle to take the honours condition. But Flyby heads in first, chasing down the CS52 lease. A bit of a swing and a miss there, and actually eats a round from the CS52 lease. LoneSurvivor pushes in, looking for an opportunity as well, but Flyby is able to get the killing shot in first, and that's their 3rd kill of the game. So well done, folks. That's a victory. Let's take a look at the results. Now, for LoneSurvivor's efforts there, that was a level 2 mastery badge, but it also picked up these 2 epic medals as well. He's picked up the Spartan medal for surviving a ricochet or non-penetrating hit from an enemy vehicle, and the catch needs to be is that you have to have less than 10% of the hit points left at the time of receiving said damage, and you have to survive the battle. I suspect it was the engagement with the Kampfpanzer 7RH that had granted them that medal. He's also picked up the Brothers in Arms medal for everyone in the platoon having picked up at least 3 kills, and that's certainly an indicator of a fairly crucial contribution to the fight. He's picked up a couple of badges of merit as well, the Fire for Effect medal for doing at least your hit points and damage upon the enemy team, and he's done over 3,300 hit points of damage this battle. He's also picked up the Duelist medal for destroying at least 2 enemy vehicles that have caused damage to them in turn. Having a look at the team scores, LoneSurvivor wasn't top on XP. That honour goes to the Skoda T56, who'd had a cracking game in the forward line and had been responsible for shutting down quite a number of enemy vehicles single-handedly. Flyby, also of the Oz Clan, did quite well in this Prototype Standard B as well, with over 3,800 hit points of damage inflicted on the enemy team, and had also picked up 3 kills themselves. So that's between the two of them, that's 3 kills each, and that's a Brothers in Arms medal. Special mention to 12 E-Cycle in the CS52 on the enemy team. Unfortunately, wasn't quite able to carry hard enough, or the carriage certainly goes towards the top 4 places on LoneSurvivor's team. Having a look at the detailed report, wasn't a hugely profitable game, largely owing to the amount of premium ammunition expended in the early game, but I guess the situation was quite dire. There really was no margin for error. And when you've got 230 millimeters of base penetration on the standard AP, it's probably not quite going to cut it when you've got heavy tanks in front of you, particularly if you're after certainty, and when the margins of the fight are so tight. I guess you do what you have to do. And I mean, at the end of the day, he's picked up a personal campaign mission for the T55A, so the fact that he's made a profit at all is a bit of a cherry on the top, really. So that's that one. If you've got a fight that you'd like to share with the community, please reach out over Discord or any of the links below, and we'll do our best to sort you out. I do have some guidelines in the About section for what I'm looking for in community submissions, but of course I am a bit flexible on them and can make exceptions, particularly when there's personal campaign missions or a very tight game involved. In the meantime, take care out there.